Each day runs by. Perhaps you don't even notice how fast the time goes. Perhaps sometimes you get those notifications on your phone on this day a year ago. And you get reminded that a year has passed from the moment that was captured in that notification. Maybe even existential dread fills your soul. In that horrifying moment that you realize there is no escape from the passage of time. You can only match, move by move, the obstacles that the world is throwing at you, and watch yourself and everyone around you grow older until one day you come to realize that your time has run out. And maybe that's exactly what Resident Evil is trying to tell you with its usage of clocks in its games. Have you thought about that? Because I have. I was looking at the time one day and I was reminded that there sure are a lot of clock puzzles in Resident Evil. Why? Why is that? Quite recently I made a video about the usage of eyeballs and eyes in Resident Evil, and I thought it was pretty good. So if you haven't seen it, you should probably go watch it right now. It's not important for this video, but it would make me really happy. So I thought another overarching theme in Resident Evil is the usage of clocks, whether if it's for puzzles or just for the aesthetic of the environment. But a lot of times it's used for both. Right in the first Resident Evil game, we have the dining hall with the clock puzzle. While this puzzle doesn't necessarily use the theme of time as a solution, it's still functionally there. Moreover, the entire room is filled with a sinister ticking. In Resident Evil 2 we have the clock tower puzzle, which is at the peak of the RPD, which also serves as the climax of the police station. In both in the remake and the original, it's generally the last puzzle you solve within the RPD, before moving on to the next location. Resident Evil 3 also has clock tower puzzle. I think you get the point, there are a lot of clocks in Resident Evil. Like a lot of them. And similarly with the eyes, I'd like to know today if there is any thematic undertone for this occurrence. So first we should take a look at what clocks or time in general would symbolize in media. I think the most obvious one, the one that I briefly talked about already, is the idea of suspense. In film, we can trace this back to the popular film High Noon, which is a western with the Gary Cooper who plays the strong silent type.
Whatever happened to Gary Cooper, the strong silent type?
Where the ticking of clock is a reminder of the approaching danger. If we want to trace it even further back, we can look at Salvador Dali's painting, The Persistence of Memory, where the symbolism is not the same as in High Noon, but I would argue it's even more sinister and sad. While High Noon focuses more on the time passing until the upcoming event in the movie, I think Salvador's painting is a lot more fatalistic, a reminder that your life is but a flicker in the passage of the past, present and future. Time is relative, and not just in the sense that Einstein meant it when he said it, but in that time has a different meaning for different people. Time can be spent doing different things, all depending on one's own journey. Maybe Einstein also meant this, what I'm saying right now. I'm not sure what he really meant. I guess we should ask him, but we can't because his time has passed. In The Persistence of Memory, the clocks are melting, which symbolizes the fleeting nature of each moment in our lives as they surrender to the passage of time. Sometimes in media, clocks can even symbolize the possibility or foreshadowing of time travel. One of my favorite gaming series of all time is Legacy of Kain, where time travel is a big factor, and the time traveling machine they use to time travel does resemble a clock. These are only a few examples of how to use clocks and time as symbolism. Where does Resident Evil fall in this? Well, the most obvious and surface answer would be to say it's the same category as High Noon, where time gives you a sense of anxiety, of the impending doom that's inevitably coming for you. And you would be right. Time plays a vital role in inducing stress within you when you're playing Resident Evil. We can see that if we just take a look at how an overwhelming majority of the games end, which is a timer until a facility or an island or wherever you're at the moment explodes. And even if it's not at the end of the game, let's say it's the dining hall in Resident Evil 1, the ticking of the grandfather's clock is still very stressful. So even though you technically have as much time as you need, the ticking, because of how time in media usually works, puts another layer of anxiety on the already anxious experience that is playing Resident Evil. Resident Evil is also a Japanese game. You know what is an unpopular gift to give in Japan? You guessed it, clocks or watch, especially for older people, as clocks or watches can serve as a reminder of one's own mortality. That way, clock can be a chilling reminder that you can die at any moment, as you have no idea what awaits you behind every corner. You are even attacked by brain-dead zombies. In Resident Evil 6 you even play as a brain-dead person in the third campaign. In this franchise, death is an overarching theme. Obviously it's a horror game, so you sort of expect being in danger all the time. But as clocks are a very frequent and prominent environmental or puzzle solving factor within the franchise, there may be a more transcendent meaning to it. And I would argue yes, although this factor would tie in very closely with what we already talked about, and that is mortality. It is actually the very opposite of mortality, and that is immortality. Because when we take a look at most of the monsters existing within this universe and most of the events transpiring throughout the timeline of the games, it almost always leads back to the desire to be immortal. Albert Wesker desires to be immortal, and so does Oswald Spencer. Mother Miranda technically is immortal and also desires the immortality for her daughter. Alex Wesker successfully reaches immortality in finding the means to swap bodies with someone, or at least clone her consciousness. If we specifically take a look at Oswald Spencer, the symbolism is the strongest, as he is the founder of Umbrella, the one who actually met Mother Miranda, and the one who ultimately has the least amount of time being faced with his own mortality. He does everything to escape it. Much like Wesker or Miranda, or Alex Wesker, I'm pretty sure she would also be failing if Capcom ever remembered that she exists. At the end of the day, the clocks for them have run out, which can serve as a chilling reminder that if they cannot escape death, then there is no way for us to escape, and all we can do instead of chasing immortality is use our time the best we can. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found this video to be very educational. And since, much like Albert Wesker, this video is also almost out of time, why not, if you made it this far, like this video and subscribe as a way to live your life with no regrets. Because you never know when your time might run out. And this is not a threat, by the way, this is just an observation. You can also leave a nice comment about what you think clocks might represent in Resident Evil. And I will see you next time, hopefully, if my time doesn't run out before that.